The Mad Musician.
Vivify Studio Stories.
Shanaz swaying and swirling to the intoxicating groovy music being played by Zayn. The hall echoed with the giggles and foot-tapping beats of Shanaz. Oh Zayn. Your musical compositions are intoxicating. You are my mad musician. The music in the hall muted with the fading foot taps of Shanaz. Where did you learn this talent from, Zayn? Your musical loops are a treat to the listener ears. Couldn't have done it without you, my timeless muse. Zayn staring into Shanaz's gleaming eyes. If my music is as sweet as sugar, my muse is sweeter than the honey. If the muse is gratifying, automatically my music will be sweeter and candied. Oh Zayn. Shanaz blushing and giggling in a low tone. Are you working on something new? Yes. Zayn exclaimed. Don't worry, you'll be the first one to get to listen to it, when it's done. So what are your plans for today? Questioned Shanaz. Well, I do have an underground jamming session today, late night obviously. Are you prepared? Yeah, answered Zayn. I am always ready for the crowd. Shanaz, can you pack my stuff for the jam? Sure. Shanaz answered, packing his stuff for the late night jamming session. Will you join me for the session, Shanaz? Not tonight. Have laundry to do, a lot of work at home. Okay, exclaimed Zayn. We'll miss you at the jam session. No worries, we'll attend next time for sure. Zany. Packing Zayn's instruments for his upcoming session. The clock struck 9 at night. Shanaz handed over Zayn's instruments to him for his session. She stood in the entrance hallway and waved Zayn goodbye as he got himself seated in the car parked outside his house. Shanaz blowed some kisses towards him and waved vigorously in mid-air. Zayn waved Shanaz goodbye and drove off. Shanaz locked the entrance door and headed back into the kitchen and started doing the regular household chores. Meanwhile, Zayn on the other hand started playing in the jamming session. The crowd hooted and applauded at Zayn's amazing piano talent. After 7 hours of continuous playing, Zayn's jam session came to an end. He packed his stuff and headed back home. As he entered the driveway, he unbuckled his seatbelt and slid out of the car. He rang the main gate doorbell. It was cold and drizzling, but his bell went unanswered. He once again rang the doorbell, but again it went unresponded. Zayn grew a little worried as no one was answering. Zayn ran around to the back of the house. The curtains of the back window weren't drawn. Zayn knocked the glass window and shouted Shanaz. He once again slammed the window, but this time with some pressure. But yet again Zayn found his shouts unanswered. That's strange, Zayn thought to himself. Shanaz always answers back quickly. Zayn moved over towards the window, and as he peeped he could see his bedroom coming in vision. To his great amazement, he could see Shanaz lying unconsciously on the bedroom floor with her face facing towards the floor. Shanaz, Shanaz. Zayn cried. His heart was beating fast. He started slamming the glass window vigorously. Zayn took a nearby rock and smashed the window. He unlocked the window and climbed into the drawing room. He quickly ran towards unconscious Shanaz and picked her up in his arms and placed her on the bed. Shanaz, Zayn whispered. Shanaz lied unconscious on her bed. Zayn, confused and shocked at seeing Shanaz in this state, he called the 911 for help. Zayn felt Shanaz's pulses, but he couldn't find any. Zayn's heartbeat was racing, but he still waited for the ambulance to come to his place. Zayn lied motionless next to Shanaz's unconscious cold body. He slowly and quietly stood up from the bed. As he moved, he saw a piece of paper lying on the floor. He could see Shanaz's handwriting scribbled on the paper. He quickly grabbed the paper of the floor and started reading it. The letter said, Dear Zayn, my mad musician. I've known you for quite some long time, for I guess 15 years. I enjoyed each and everything we did together. I had always loved your music. Your delightful compositions. I loved each second that we had spent together. Every moment that we spent, I still remember them, haven't really forgotten them. How we giggled and laughed to my crazy, excruciating drumming beats and guitaring tunes. How you always sorted out my music notes and tunes. I've always taken you as my mentor and friend. You, on the other hand, has always taken me as a follower. But you forgot something, and all of this: commoners don't get followers. You are a common person. I never wanted to be your follower in the first place. If you know what I mean. I like your music, but I never liked you being a part of that industry. I've always blindly trusted and followed you, 'cause I had faith and trust in you. But it is after now I've fallen in love with you truly. Yes, I will be taking poison tonight to kill myself, so that I can awaken you, to bring you to consciousness. First you were the teacher, now I'm your mentor for the rest of your life. My death might guide you better than my being alive. My end is your teacher and your guidance in this world. My destruction will reveal you that this world is a mere conspiracy that you are running after. Everything in this world is perishable and mortal. You were running after fantasies. Playing music ain't bad, but I always had the feeling that it ain't good either. I encouraged you 'cause I loved you. I never want something bad for you. I always wanted good of you. My death to me is better for you than my staying alive. Maybe my death will bring you closer to something far more superior and to the ultimate truth. Regards, your muse, Shanaz. Tears flowed down Zayn's eyes. Why didn't Shanaz said that to him during her lifetime? Why did she had to take this step in order to bring him closer to something far more divine? Zayn was heartbroken and felt deceived by his own soulmate, who did promise him that she will stay with him forever and ever. Shanaz left Zayn in his lifetime, leaving the world for him to live alone. How could she be so coward and ruthless? Didn't she thought about Zayn after her departure? But Zayn, being a tenacious soul, wouldn't give up so quickly. He wanted answers by Shanaz for her actions. Why did she left the world leaving Zayn behind unanswered? He was distressed and agitated by Shanaz's action. He was clueless and lost. But how would he do that? He wanted to meet Shanaz, but he knew that this wish of his wouldn't come true ever in his entire life. The rescue team came barging into his living room, and wrapped Shanaz's body into a plastic bag and took it away for post-mortem along with her handwritten letter. Zayn, later that night, couldn't sleep, and tossed and turned in his bed, unable to sleep all night. Shanaz's death left so many unanswered questions in Zayn's mind. He could still hear Shanaz's laughter and dance tapping noise echoing in his ears as if she was still alive and living. Zayn sat in his bed wide awake now. He moved towards his piano and lifted the piano cover and started playing Shanaz's favorite music tune. As he played the piano, he could feel Shanaz swirling around in the hall. But as he opened his eyes, his vision just stared into the darkness of the hall. Now, Shanaz just existed in his imagination. Vivid imagination of Shanaz just wrapped around his mind. Shanaz, yelled Zayn, but his voice echoed back to him through the dark, isolated hallway. His heart grieved with the sudden loss. Zayn covered his piano and stood up and strolled across the dark hallway. As he took steps forward, Zayn, a whispered sort of a voice filled his ear. Zayn turned back, but his eyes yet again found them staring into the hall's darkness. As he moved forward again, Zayn, he heard again, and this time he was sure it wasn't his imagination. He did recognize the voice. It was Shanaz's voice. Shanaz. Zayn called out her name in a low, husky voice. Where are you? He questioned. Right here, Shanaz answered. Zayn turned around and started slowly to the mirror hanging to the wall right behind him. As he went near the mirror, he saw a vivid reflection of Shanaz standing in the mirror. Zayn lifted his hand towards the mirror, but he couldn't glide through the solid glass. He slammed the glass of the mirror, but he just couldn't go through it. It was as if Shanaz was trapped in the mirror. She wanted to come out of the mirror, but glass wouldn't allow her to cross over. Zayn, she called out. Yes. Zayn responded in a hypnotic manner. Why? Zayn questioned. Shanaz staring at Zayn directly. Do you really want to know the answer? Yes, Zayn replied. Shanaz moved towards Zayn and moved her hands towards Zayn. The hand protruded out of the solid glass. Zayn gently grabbed Shanaz's hand. Shanaz pulled Zayn towards the mirror. Zayn walked slowly and penetrated through the glass. Zayn was now standing in void. It looked as if time had stopped. He felt slow and found his feet heavy to move. Gravity was slowly losing its grip on Zayn. Zayn was now floating in mid-air of the ground. Shanaz stood right next to him. He was happy to see Shanaz alive and moving. He tried hugging Shanaz, but his arms swiftly went through her. Shanaz just smiled at Zayn. I died, Zayn, don't you remember? The state in which you are is redemption. This place where you are present is immortality. This is where I reside now. It is only after my end, I achieved immortality. Redemption led to my end, and my death lead to immortality. Time and gravity play lesser role here in immortality. Time is slow and weak here, that's why you feel heavy and slow. Lift your leg, Shanaz ordered Zayn. Zayn, looking deeply into Shanaz's eyes, lifted his leg. His leg felt heavy and it took Zayn ages to lift his leg. See, I told you time is slow here. Your leg took a year to move one step, according to Earth's physics. Zayn took 15 steps ahead. Now look at yourself in the mirror. As Zayn looked towards his reflection, Zayn found himself old and weary. Small wrinkles appeared at the side of his eyes. Don't worry, you won't die here in immortality. You don't look old, Shanaz? Questioned Zayn. Well, I am dead, so my physical appearance won't wither either. Whereas you, on the other hand, are my guest. You're not dead. I just teleported you with me to immortality. So you might change physically a bit. You're still mortal, whereas I am just a soul. Zayn frowned at Shanaz. And where are we headed? He questioned. Towards destiny, replied Shanaz. Why did you revert and teleported me here? Shanaz. Why did you kill me, Zayn? It was you who poisoned my food, wasn't it? Why did you kill your own muse? How will you produce art now? Art cannot exist without the muse, then how shall the artist live? Yes, I killed you. The artist did kill his own muse. In order to kill art, I needed to kill the muse first. Your destruction is the demolition of my art. I never wanted to be a musician, but my talent exceeded me in this field. You loved my art. That's why I played, just to please you, my love. The suicidal letter was also written by me to deviate the cops, Zayn confirmed. I loved you dearly. Zayn gently caressing Shanaz's hands and walking swiftly with her towards destiny. If you loved me, you wouldn't had poisoned your pregnant wife in the first place. How could someone kill somebody whom they loved dearly? Was it someone you found at your jam? Was it that my love wasn't that appealing to you anymore? Was it my fading youth or the passing time that made you do this act? Do you really want the answers? Questioned Zayn. I want the truth, replied Shanaz. You can't handle the truth, argued Zayn. Try me, answered Shanaz. 2 days before your murder, Dr. Zubair called me up and had asked me to visit him urgently. I did as I was told. I visited him the very next day and evening. Dr. Zubair told me about my internal illness. He had diagnosed me with liver cancer. He had told me the reality. He told me the cancer had reached to 2nd grade and it will be impossible for them to treat this illness. He had given me just a month to live. It was as if my whole life became meaningless in a second. My life started flashing by. All the time we had spent together was now meaningless. I was scared of what will happen of you and my child if I'm not around. I couldn't have left you alone in this world. The thought of seeing you and my child with someone else in this world behind me scared and hallucinated me day and night. My art came from my muse, and if artist is not there, how can muse live without the artist? If artist had to die, so the muse had no right to live either. That's how things work, don't they? Questioned Zayn. The muse had to die with the artist, Zayn explained. I never wanted to end up in jail after your murder, hence I planned the suicidal letter. My death was a reality and it is certain, but your death is the outcome of selfishness. Both walked slowly towards destiny. Their pace was steady, but both were slowly drifting towards destiny. At the end of the path was where destiny waited. Destiny waved Shanaz to wait and took Zayn by his hand. Destiny took Zayn by his hand and drifted him towards itself. Both of them stopped and Destiny caressed Zayn's forehead and rubbed his hands gently. Zayn collapsed to the ground. Destiny killed Zayn and caused his cancer to spread. Zayn laid motionless on the ground. Life fled seeing this and death took over. The mirror from where Zayn entered immortality broke into pieces, leaving Zayn and Shanaz together with immortality. Death of Zayn lead to the destruction of the mortal world for both the souls.